Yo, what's up, YouTube? This is your boy Jay from Keeping It Real, your arbiter of gaming news and commentary, hitting you off with a studio production video where you know this is your channel, where all gamers' voices are heard. With your boy Jay, always dropping the word. Keeping them other gaming YouTubers like, what you heard? And where you always know, we always keep it all the way real. So what's up, everybody? I just want to thank you all for checking out my studio production video today. And man, I'm not even gonna go ahead and say I told you so, but yeah, I told you so. No, I'm just kidding. No, man, this is gonna be an interesting video about something I think is a really interesting prospect, especially with what has happened recently with Lawbreakers, or our good old Cliff B, and you know, developers like Respawn with Titanfalls. I wanted to ask the question: is developers making a mistake putting their multiplayer only game on PS4 first? And I wanted to dig into that and talk about that, and basically just dig into the facts of the matter and what's happened, and you know, what's surrounding why that may be a big mistake, or maybe it's not. So I just want to dig into that. So I first want to start out with talking about the fact that I think it's pretty commonly known that PlayStation's platform is a more single player driven platform. I think that's pretty well known. I mean, honestly, I can talk to people who are considered this novelists. They don't really know much about games, but even they know that PlayStation is more of a single player driven type platform. It's not just common knowledge. And you know, so you got to ask yourself the question: when developers know this, you got to know that they know this. Why would they put their game over to a platform that is kind of contradictory to the game that they're, the style of game or the kind of game that they're trying to put over to that platform? And, you know, I think there's a lot of different reasons to that. I think one of the obvious reasons is player install base. I think that's one of the obvious out there right in front reasons. But I think some of the reasons also to that is also image. If you really think about it, if you have an image that you're the place to play, that has a lot of pull, you know, and to a developer that can be very enticing. But what I wanted to talk about is, you know, how some of those reasons can really get you in some trouble. And should developers be jumping on what just looks good, but really when it comes to actual content is not so good? And what are some of the lessons that they can learn? So I wanted to start out with, you know, of course, the two examples I wanted to use was what I've been saying in a lot of my videos when I'm talking about Titanfalls 2, and recently now with Lawbreakers, where these are two companies that literally got their start with Xbox gamers, and they profit a great deal from Xbox gamers. The original Titanfall sold almost 5 million with Xbox gamers, and was a big success, especially since this was a ragtag team of guys from Call of Duty that had a couple of dollars in their pocket and a dream to make an incredible game. And you know, what they did was pretty legendary. I still think to even to this day that Titanfalls is one of the best first-person shooters I've ever played, and I'll still say that. I mean, I think what they've done with movement and what they've done with the style of their gameplay, there's been no other game like it. And I think it owes to their credit, even their hit detection and their flow of how the game flows in between pilots and titans. I think it's genius, and it's just one of those shining examples of what we could do in the first person market to add a different style that can just change the whole game and make it all new again. And I think that was a great thing. But I think what was lost in translation is when you sell out those ones who had your back and who was there for you and who put you to where you are. I mean, because if you think about it, when it comes from the developer standpoint, the smartest thing a developer can do is kind of keep their mouth shut and not talk too much, especially when it comes to, talking anything against the very player base they're going to actually need to buy their product. I mean, you think about how not too bright of a business move that is, especially when it comes to the very player base of people who basically gave you your stardom in the industry. So I think this was one of those things where the grass looked a little greener on the other side. And I think those are one of those things that I think a lot of developers now and into the future need to really look at. Is it really smart to place their, especially a single player or a multiplayer only game on the PS4 first? Because you got to think about the PS4. And a lot of people don't really understand this, or maybe they fight against it. But I think anybody with any sense knows PS4 players are not the biggest multiplayers. You look at a game like Call of Duty, Call of Duty. The sales on Call of Duty for PlayStation did pretty well. Considering they did for the PlayStation 7.37 million. Okay, and remember now, by that time we're talking about a 55 million install base that PlayStation had around that time, and in that neighborhood. And they did 7.37 million, right? So that's 7.3 million. And Xbox did on that same game 4.4, basically almost 4.5 million, 4.49 million. So that tells you that Xbox platform was less than 2 million away on Call of Duty. And that tells you just how many people when it comes to multiplayer that on Xbox. And that's with Sony having the marketing rights. You gotta remember, they have the marketing rights on Call of Duty. And that didn't even matter. Still, 5.5 million people brought it on Xbox. And still making it only less than 2 million away from the people who the number of people who brought it on PlayStation. So that tells you just how much of a big presence when it comes to multiplayer, how driven Xbox platform really is, and how strong it is on multiplayer. It's less than 2 million away from a platform that has a 55 million install base. Okay, so that tells you right there that there's a strong presence of multiplayer driven individuals and gamers on the Xbox platform. And with that evidence, or even just a common knowledge of knowing, you got to ask yourself, what would really entice these developers to say, I'm going to take a single player driven game, I'm going to stiff the very people who are the most single player or the most multiplayer driven, and I'm going to stiff them, sell them out for a platform that's not very multiplayer driven? What would make them do that? Like, I've just been sitting here rattling my brain trying to think about what is the sense in that. Like, I gotta ask, you gotta ask yourself, you have to just know that it's not like they don't know that. I mean, I pride these guys on being smart enough to know that PlayStation is not the most multiplayer driven platform. But I really believe that tells you just the state of decay of the gaming industry, where this is the reason why a lot of this propaganda and a lot of this toxic stuff, that's these lies that are spread about Xbox and trying to demean Xbox, this is the effects that it does. It takes guys who should know better and they still make stupid decisions like that because they're sitting here thinking, oh well, look, you know, the media hates on Xbox, the gamers are hating on Xbox. This is the time where I could profit off of all those haters of Xbox and put my game on a platform that maybe it might not be multiplayer driven, but that's not going to matter. I'm still going to make more copies because look, it's a fad right now to hate on Xbox. And that tells you just how sad it is, because really, honestly, this is what I personally believe the real reason of why these developers are doing this, because it's become a trend to hate on Xbox. And what they're simply doing is profiting off of that trend. Just like the media is profiting off the trend, and just like a lot of these YouTubers that sit here and spread these lies and miscommunication online is profiting off the trend. So the sad reality is that they have to wait. It doesn't dawn on them until they put these games out on that platform and realize it sells like crap and it flops before they realize, oh crap, well, maybe all that was just hype and propaganda and it wasn't real. Maybe, oh, it just so happens to be that no, Xbox gamers are multiplayer driven, and if I just would have been loyal to them, especially them being a multiplayer driven platform, my game would have did well. But they find that out the hard way. They find that out too late. And I believe that's the real reason why we're seeing what we're seeing. I believe it's just part of the state of affairs in the gaming industry right now. Now, of course, I believe that image is changing little by little. Of course, the X, I believe, is going to be the catalyst to that. That's going to spur that change, and that's going to stake its dominance within the gaming industry so strong that people are going to have to wake up and realize it's a new day for Xbox. But until that moment, this is the type of stuff that I believe we're going to get. We're going to get developers that should know better doing foolish, stupid things like this and putting themselves in a position where they may have to shut down shop. And it's really sad because really, honestly, I wouldn't want to see any developers lose their job. I wouldn't want to see any people who work for these developing companies lose their jobs or go under. But I mean, I think that's one of the things that when you don't really pay attention to really what's going on and make your decisions based off of reality, and you just get caught up with a bunch of propaganda and a bunch of BS of trends and what other people are doing, you lose sight of, what things really are. And when that happens, you can suffer some serious consequences. And I think what Cliff B is going to be going through and what his team of people is going to be going through is part of that. And it's really sad because, as we can see, for all intents and purposes, right now, Lawbreakers is a flop. Now we'll see how it develops and what sales it gets, moving on. But like I've said before, I've already said this from my other video, I don't think they're going to do 2 million. And that's both being on the computer and also PS4. PS4 guys, they ain't buying it. Simple as that. You can sell out to them as much as you want, but they ain't buying it because they're just not multiplayer driven. Now, a game like Call of Duty, yeah, Call of Duty has a long-standing presence, and it's a established game, and it ain't. You can't even compare it to Lawbreakers. Lawbreakers ain't even the same league as Call of Duty. It's just a whole nother different ball of wax there. That's a whole nother different world. So Call of Duty is one of those games that is a difference because it's well established. We can't say that for Lawbreakers. And what I've seen, especially when it comes to the gameplay, almost every review I've heard, I would say 8 out of 10, they say the same thing. I played it for a little while, got bored, and put it down. It's done. Everybody's saying the same thing about this game, Lawbreakers, and it's kind of sad because I like to see Cliff do well, but after the things that he said, he kind of put himself in a box, and now the very people that he shunned and he called just a bunch of fanboys and belittled, now those are the very community of people he's going to really need now. But are they going to be there? I don't know. I know for me personally, I'm not. You know, I'm just not. I'm not interested in his game personally. It's nothing personal. I'm just not interested in his game, and especially by how he talked about Xbox gamers just disrespecting us. To come back now and try to woo Xbox gamers, it's to be expected. It's typical, but it wouldn't sway me, because at the bottom line is I don't think his game is worth my time. That's just my personal opinion. So yeah, man, I wanted to dig into this, and you know, just look at some of these things that are what I believe is the real reasons why of what's going on, why, you know, these developers like Cliff B are just not getting any traction on the PS4. And I believe that's the real reason. And it's sad to think that, you know, the gaming industry, especially when it comes to Xbox, which is an excellent platform that just keeps getting better and better, that listens to the gamers, that gives them what they want, has to get this type of ridicule, you know, and has to have even developers that been on the Xbox side get this type of, you know, disloyalty. You know what I mean? And you guys got to remember, Xbox is not headed by the same guy anymore. The guys, the Xbox that Cliff B was dealing with back then, and that, you know, Respawn was dealing with, you got to remember, there's a new day. It's Phil Spencer is now in charge. You can say what you want about him, but he's a nice guy. I think to a fault. Sometimes I think too nice. But at the end of the day, he's a fair person. And I just think it's just been a real big mistake to shun the Xbox community like that and treat them like that. And I guess it's kind of like one of those things where this is what comes out, because you're so worried about what trends are saying or what the media is saying instead of focusing on what things really are. And I think that's the real reason. So yeah, man, I want you guys to go ahead and hit me up in the comment box. You know, make sure you know you like, share, subscribe, you know, if you dig my content. And I'm going to go ahead and see you guys in the comment box. Man, all right, until the next time. This is Jay. I'm always keeping it real, and I'm gone.